Hello everyone, today I bring you the scale 118 Mercedes-Benz SL65 AMG Black Series by Mondo Motors. And this comes at a good time because while the Mondo Motors version is kind of getting hard to find now, it is now arriving in the United States as a Motormax version. So just to clarify, Mondo Motors is technically Motormax, and except they were sold primarily in Europe. This came to the US for a brief period of time, and then it brought up the Motormax name. So if you're interested in buying this SL65, it most certainly works both ways. The Mondo Motors version is a little bit more expensive, only because it was specially imported rather than, manufactured specially for the United States. And of course, that's only relevant to my US viewers. But if you are elsewhere in the world and you have the Mondo Motors version, it works well too. So anyway, let's get started on the details here. So the Motormax costs about 26 to 30 US dollars depending on where you're gonna buy it, and you usually can't find these at wholesale clubs, although I wouldn't discount that. I think it's possible that it will be coming out. Seems like they just wanted to bring this one out recently. But it was actually 50 US dollars to buy the Mondo Motors version. Exactly the same thing. So for that money, you do get an opening hood, doors, and a trunk, which is good, but no suspension. However, you do get steering wheels. But because of the way this car is designed, the wheels don't actually turn all that well with the steering wheel. That's okay. I mean, it still looks just fine. We're gonna get started on the exterior here, as I typically do. Paint quality throughout this car is pretty good. The metalwork is decent, better than a Maisto. The Maisto version of the SL63 and SL65, the older version, the one with this styling, I'll be making references to that throughout this. Actually, hold on, I actually have it right here so I can use it as a comparison. Here we go. So this is the 2009 SL63, and this is a 2009 SL65 AMG Black Series. This, of course, has the 6-liter V12 engine in it, bi-turbo, so much faster. This is a supercar grade, definitely. First thing, we notice that there is a big, huge peg right in the center of the headlight that is kind of obnoxious and a little distracting. The Maisto doesn't have that, but at the same time, the Motormax / Mondo Motors actually has better detailing on the actual lights, the xenon bulbs, whereas the Maisto, you really can't even see the difference. So I'll give them that, minus the peg, which is a little annoying, but so be it. The front grille here is 100% not realistic. It's probably one of the worst front grills I have seen on a car. It really is as if they did not try at all when it comes to that design. And this little chrome piece, I'm supposed to be separating it. That has a little peg to hold it in place, and it's almost coming off. You can see it's kind of cheap plastic, but it has it's a little bit thinner than the Maisto version, and I think it actually looks a little bit better as thinner. It just, I don't know, a little bit better designed maybe. But then again, it's still not of that high quality. And I'm going to zoom into the Mercedes badge, which is kind of hard to see even without a camera. Not a bad front end, and to show the difference between the metalwork of these two cars, kind of difficult to show the difference, but you see how around the headlight, the actual hood, there's a difference in the size of the gap from here to here, like the gap closes here. And when the top of the hood doesn't necessarily close flush with that. This is just a little bit better. You can see it's a little bit more consistent with the spacing between the headlight and the hood, and that gap's a little bit smaller, so it does have better metal work, and you do notice that throughout the car. However, I mean, there are little spots, like in the back, there's a little bump there, which shouldn't be there. But again, I'm nitpicking here. This is not something that will typically be an issue for a budget car collector. And the engine, not a bad engine. It is one big plastic piece, as we typically see, but at least they decided to add a little bit of coloring along the bolts. And generally, there isn't that much to see under this massive hood anyway, because it is pretty much predominantly just the engine cover. But it's not really that bad. I've seen worse. I think the Maisto is actually a little bit worse. And pretty nice wheels, huge brake discs. But then again, this is a pretty heavy car, so that makes sense. V12 bi-turbo. Doors do not close quite flush. This was added by my brother, that's not me. And kind of pretty nice taillights, I must say. Compared to the Maisto ones, which are very foggy, these actually look really good. Good differentiation from the red and the clear plastic there. There is, again, a little peg in there, but it's not as noticeable on the rear end. Underneath, big matte plastic piece. Very unrealistic, to say the least. Now, this has nothing raised from the bottom, and when I say that, I know I mentioned it in a lot of my videos. I mean, like this pipe here, it actually looks like a pipe. It's not just a bump risen above this black plastic. It's actually a pipe. So that's kind of the my methodology when it comes to that. You can see really cheap looking transmission there. Same thing with the diff in the back. And carbon fiber, but it doesn't really look that much like carbon fiber. And if we go on the interior, that pattern kind of continues. If I zoom into the center console here, they try to make it look like carbon fiber, but it just doesn't. It's too big, and it almost looks more like, I don't know, like cloth, like a checkered cloth or something. Now the buttons are there. It isn't quite as good as the Maisto version. There's not as much coloring. And then I think the shaping's actually a little bit off. See how this is, just very curved. It doesn't look right to me. For all I know, it could be the better car, but you can see some coloring there. But overall, there really wasn't much on in this vehicle. In fact, I think my brother might have actually touched it up a little bit. So it's not quite that good. The seats they look shiny. Not really that impressive. Just hard plastic. I think when he got this, it was actually broken out, and there was like white powder all over the inside from the manufacturer's gloves. AMG logo right on the door sill, looks pretty good. Not much detail there. And there's that fake carbon fiber as usual. Now they're in the trunk area, or the boot, however you prefer to say it. It's a big huge black plastic block there. It doesn't allow you to continue into the car, into a little bit farther like the real one does. So not so realistic along those lines. And a few last things. I know this video is running a little bit long. The metalwork doesn't really line up too well. Again, running into that consistency problem where the gap is bigger here than it is here. Like I can stick my fingernail in this one, but I can't in this one. And you notice it throughout the car, but it's not overly annoying. So overall, The value of this car kind of depends on how much you pay for it. The Mondo Motors, when it came out, was about 50 bucks. US dollars, of course, for me. And it's absolutely not worth $50 by any respect. If this was a $50 car, I would be tearing it apart right now, and I'd probably get some angry comments about that. But this is $26, and for that money, the thing looks pretty darn good. On the outside, it's a beautiful looking vehicle. I personally love this generation. I think the exterior looks better than the Maisto version of the SL63, which is similar to the SL65. So it's a win when it comes to that. So it depends on where you can get it. If you can get it for a short amount of money, by all means, I would recommend it. Otherwise, overly not that impressive of a vehicle. All right. Well, that's all, and thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful.